If Robb Stark had married Rosalind Frey instead of breaking his promise to House Frey, the course of the War of the Five Kings and the broader history of Westeros might have been dramatically altered. This scenario fundamentally revolves around questions of honor, loyalty, and the importance of political alliances, as well as the unpredictable consequences of human decisions in times of turmoil. Initially, Robb Stark's decision to marry Talisa Maegor was born from a blend of personal desire and the romantic ideal of love, defying the expectation of strategic political marriage. This choice alienated House Frey, whose support was vital for the Stark cause, as the Freys controlled key river crossings that served as strategic assets. However, in this alternate scenario where Robb fulfills his vow and marries Rosalind Frey, the relationship between the two houses remains intact. Walder Frey, notorious for his petty grievances and cunning manipulations, would likely feel placated, offering his full support to the Starks. The impact of this union would ripple through the war effort. With the Freys' alliance secure, the Stark forces would retain control over the Twins, a crucial geographical choke point in the Riverlands. This control would bolster the Northern cause, ensuring a steady line of communication and movement between Robb's forces and their allies in the south. Moreover, Walder Frey's troops and resources would remain at Robb's disposal, significantly strengthening the Stark-led coalition. This cohesion might tip the scales in several key battles, as the Freys could provide reinforcements, provisions, and local knowledge. Beyond the military implications, the marriage would likely alter the political landscape. Robb, as a dutiful son of Eddard Stark and a product of the Stark ethos of honor and duty, would be seen as upholding his word, a stark contrast to the decision that doomed him in the original timeline. This preservation of trust could enhance Robb's reputation among the noble houses of Westeros. Many southern lords, who were wary of the Northern King's youth and impulsive nature, might view his actions more favorably. By honoring his commitment to the Freys, Robb would demonstrate a degree of pragmatism necessary for long-term leadership in the chaotic realm of Westeros. In the absence of the Red Wedding, a direct consequence of Robb's betrayal of his marriage pact, the war's trajectory could shift significantly. Walder Frey and Roose Bolton, the key architects of the massacre, would lack the motivation and opportunity to conspire with the Lannisters. Without the catastrophic loss of Robb Stark, Catelyn Stark, and most of their bannermen, the Northern cause remains a formidable threat to King's Landing. The Lannisters, already strained by conflict with Stannis Baratheon and the ongoing unrest in the realm, would find it increasingly difficult to suppress the rebellion. Robb's survival and continued leadership could also inspire greater unity among his bannermen, who might otherwise waver in their loyalty due to the bleak prospects of victory. Rosalind Frey herself, though a relatively minor character in the canon timeline, could play a significant role in strengthening the alliance between her house and the Starks. Her apparent kindness and mild temperament might endear her to Robb and his close advisors, fostering a genuine bond between the newlyweds. If Rosalind were to bear Robb an heir, the union would solidify the Stark-Frey alliance for generations to come, creating a powerful political bloc in the Riverlands and the North. One intriguing aspect of this alternate scenario is how it affects the dynamics between House Stark and its other allies. In the original timeline, Robb's marriage to Talisa caused friction not only with the Freys but also with several of his bannermen, who saw it as a reckless and self-indulgent act. By marrying Rosalind Frey, Robb avoids this internal strife, potentially preserving the loyalty of key northern lords like Rickard Karstark. Karstark's betrayal and subsequent execution were major blows to Robb's war effort, weakening his position and diminishing his already limited resources. A stronger, more united Northern alliance under Robb's leadership could have profound consequences for the war effort. At the same time, the absence of the Red Wedding would have significant ramifications for Arya Stark and her arc. In the original timeline, Arya narrowly misses reuniting with her family at the Twins, a heartbreaking moment that underscores the cruelty and unpredictability of war. If the wedding proceeds peacefully, Arya could potentially reunite with her family, altering her trajectory from a lone wanderer fueled by vengeance to a more grounded and protected member of House Stark. Similarly, Sansa Stark's situation in King's Landing could be influenced by Robb's continued presence as a threat to the Lannisters. If Robb were to gain the upper hand in the war, Sansa's value as a political pawn might increase, leading to either harsher treatment or a more concerted effort to rescue her. The broader implications of Robb's marriage to Rosalind extend beyond the immediate war. If the Starks manage to secure a decisive victory over the Lannisters, the political landscape of Westeros would undergo a seismic shift. With King Robb Stark ruling the North and Riverlands, a new power structure could emerge, challenging the traditional dominance of the Iron Throne. Such a scenario raises questions about the fate of Daenerys Targaryen, who seeks to reclaim the throne from across the Narrow Sea. A unified North under Robb's rule might either ally with or oppose Daenerys, depending on the evolving political dynamics and personal ambitions of the key players. Yet, even in this alternate timeline, challenges would abound. Robb's adherence to honor and justice, while noble, might hinder his ability to navigate the murky waters of Westerosi politics. His refusal to adopt the ruthless pragmatism of figures like Tywin Lannister could leave him vulnerable to manipulation and betrayal. Furthermore, the seeds of discord within the Northern Alliance, rooted in centuries-old rivalries and grudges, might still sprout, threatening the stability of Robb's reign. The role of other characters, such as Jon Snow and Bran Stark, would also be shaped by Robb's survival and success. As king in the North, Robb might call upon Jon to join his cause, potentially revealing Jon's true parentage in the process. If Jon's identity as the son of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark were to come to light, it could introduce a new dimension to the struggle for power, particularly if Daenerys enters the fray. Similarly, Bran's journey as the Three-Eyed Raven could intersect with Robb's efforts to consolidate his rule, blending mystical and political elements in the fight for the future of Westeros. With Robb Stark marrying Rosalind Frey, the consequences for the Starks and their allies become increasingly intricate. This union not only alters the trajectory of the War of the Five Kings, but also reshapes the individual fates of key players across Westeros, creating ripple effects that challenge the assumptions of the original timeline. One of the most significant impacts of Robb's survival and the absence of the Red Wedding is the enduring presence of Catelyn Stark as a guiding force. Catelyn's political acumen and experience could prove invaluable in helping Robb navigate the complex landscape of alliances, betrayals, and power struggles. With her counsel, Robb might adopt a more strategic approach to the war, prioritizing diplomacy alongside military efforts. The continued unity of House Stark under her guidance could enhance their chances of securing allies among disaffected houses in the Reach, the Stormlands, or even Dorne, where grievances against the Lannisters run deep. Robb's alliance with the Freys would also serve to stabilize the Riverlands, a region ravaged by the war. Walder Frey, eager to cement his family's position as indispensable allies to the Starks, might enforce stricter discipline among his bannermen, preventing the sort of unchecked violence and opportunism that characterized the Frey forces in the original timeline. This would alleviate some of the suffering endured by the small folk in the Riverlands, potentially garnering popular support for Robb's cause. Such goodwill could prove pivotal in maintaining the loyalty of the region's noble houses, including the Tullis, Mallisters, and Blackwoods. Meanwhile, the absence of Roose Bolton's betrayal fundamentally changes the power dynamics in the North. As a loyal Stark bannerman, Bolton would continue to play a key role in Robb's military strategy, though his opportunistic tendencies might still pose a risk. Without the incentive to turn against Robb, however, Roose's calculating mind would be directed against the Lannisters rather than his liege lord. The combined forces of Houses Stark, Bolton, and Karstark would form a formidable northern coalition capable of exerting significant pressure on the Crownlands and the Westerlands. The question of Robb's ultimate endgame becomes more pressing in this alternate timeline. In the original narrative, Robb's refusal to negotiate or compromise limited his options, leading to his downfall. A more secure and united Stark cause might afford him the flexibility to consider alternative paths to victory. For example, he could focus on consolidating power in the North and Riverlands, effectively creating a semi-autonomous kingdom that operates independently of the Iron Throne. Alternatively, he could seek to depose the Lannisters entirely, though this would require alliances with other factions, such as Stannis Baratheon or Daenerys Targaryen. The fate of Jaime Lannister becomes another critical factor. In the original timeline, Jaime's release by Catelyn Stark was a controversial decision that alienated some of Robb's bannermen. However, with Robb in a stronger position and potentially more willing to entertain diplomatic solutions. Jaime's release could be reframed as a calculated move to secure peace or to negotiate for Sansa and Arya's freedom. Jaime's return to King's Landing might also sow discord within the Lannister camp, particularly if Tywin Lannister interprets his son's survival as evidence of Stark magnanimity or weakness. The broader political implications of Robb's survival extend to the Ironborn, whose invasion of the North remains a persistent threat. In the original timeline, Robb's decision to march south left the North vulnerable to Balon Greyjoy's ambitions. A more unified and strategically adept Stark leadership might anticipate this threat and allocate resources to defend key strongholds like Winterfell. Furthermore, the continued loyalty of House Bolton could prevent Ramsay Snow's rise to power, sparing the North from his atrocities and ensuring the safety of key figures like Rickon Stark. Robb's marriage to Rosalind Frey also has significant cultural and symbolic implications. By honoring his vow to House Frey, Robb reinforces the Stark commitment to justice and integrity, setting an example for his followers and allies. This demonstration of honor might resonate with houses across Westeros, inspiring greater trust in the Stark cause. At the same time, the personal dynamics of Robb and Rosalind's marriage could influence Robb's decision-making. If their union produces an heir, it would secure the Stark line and provide a sense of continuity for their bannermen, who might otherwise waver in their commitment to the war effort. The consequences for Arya Stark remain a poignant thread in this alternate timeline. If Arya successfully reunites with her family, her arc takes a markedly different turn. Instead of embarking on a solitary journey of vengeance, she might assume a more traditional role within House Stark, contributing to the family's resilience and political strategy. However, Arya's innate independence and warrior spirit might still lead her to pursue her own path, perhaps as a key operative in Robb's war efforts. Sansa Stark's situation also evolves in this scenario. With Robb alive and actively challenging the Lannisters, Sansa's value as a hostage increases. This might prompt the Lannisters to use her as leverage against Robb, presenting him with difficult moral and strategic choices. Alternatively, if the Stark cause gains momentum, Sansa's position might improve, with potential rescue attempts or diplomatic negotiations offering her a way out of King's Landing. As the war unfolds, the question of succession and governance looms large. If Robb successfully establishes himself as king in the North, he must confront the challenges of ruling a divided and war-torn realm. The North and Riverlands, though united in their loyalty to House Stark, are vast and diverse regions with competing interests and long-standing rivalries. Robb's ability to navigate these complexities would determine the long-term viability of his rule. The eventual return of Daenerys Targaryen introduces a new layer of uncertainty. Depending on the timing and circumstances of her arrival, Robb might view Daenerys as a potential ally or rival. Her claim to the Iron Throne and her growing power base, bolstered by dragons and unsullied soldiers, would force Robb to reassess his ambitions and strategies. A possible alliance between House Stark and House Targaryen, though fraught with challenges, could alter the balance of power in Westeros, uniting the North, Riverlands, and Essos against the remnants of Lannister rule. In the end, Robb Stark's decision to honor his vow and marry Rosalind Frey creates a world where the Starks are not so easily swept away by the tide of betrayal and bloodshed. This alternate path offers a glimmer of hope for the North and its allies, challenging the prevailing narrative of loss and despair. Yet, the challenges of leadership, loyalty, and survival remain ever-present, reminding us that even in a world of honor and duty, the Game of Thrones spares no one from its perilous stakes.